It was a relationship that started in scandal. Mary Kay Letourneau made headlines in 1997. She was arrested for having a relationship with one of her students.
Educators play such an integral role during the formative years of a child. We entrust those teachers with the safety and well-being of our children, and it's a brutal shock when that trust is betrayed. When this happens, we want justice. We want the perpetrator to be punished and no longer have access to those they have harmed. When the results are similar to those in the case of Mary Kay Letourneau, it feels like a complete failure of the justice system. Mary Kay Letourneau came from a background of privilege and education. Her mother, Mary E. Schmitz, was a chemist, and her father, John G. Schmitz, was a community college instructor and politician. The fourth of 7 children, Letourneau was raised in a strict Catholic household, and the pressure of being in the public eye began at the early age of 2, when her father launched his political career. He would eventually hold positions as a California state senator and U.S. congressman. Tragedy struck the family in 1973 when Letourneau's 3-year-old brother drowned in the family pool at their home in the Spyglass Hill section of Corona del Mar, California, while she was playing with another brother in the shallow end. Letourneau continued on to attend an all-girls Catholic high school, where she was a cheerleader. She later attended Arizona State University. In 1982, her father's political career was permanently damaged when it was revealed that he had fathered 2 children out of wedlock during an affair with a mistress, a former student at Santa Ana College, where he had taught political science. After witnessing the damage this did to her family, it is even harder to understand why Letourneau chose to follow in her father's footsteps. While attending university, Letourneau met her future first husband, Steve Letourneau. She claims she was never in love with him and only married him due to pressure from her parents after she became pregnant with the first of 4 children she was to have with Steve. The couple moved to Anchorage, Alaska, where they lived for a year before Steve was transferred to Seattle. Shortly after their move, Letourneau gave birth to their second child and graduated from Seattle University with a teaching degree. She began her first job teaching 2nd grade at Shorewood Elementary School. Letourneau's marriage was rocky. Plagued by constant money problems, the couple grew even further apart and began to have extramarital affairs. One neighbor claims that Steve mentally and physically abused Letourneau, but there is a chance that Letourneau told him this in the hope that he would become sympathetic enough to engage in an affair. Letourneau first came into contact with Willy Fulau in 1992 when he was a student in her 2nd grade class. It is unknown what type of relationship the pair had at this time. Letourneau made the change from 2nd to a 6th grade teacher, and during the 1995-1996 school year, Fulau was again in her class. While no one has revealed how the relationship developed, the first definite instance of inappropriate behavior occurred in June 1996. During a routine check, police noticed a car parked in the marina parking lot. When they came closer, Letourneau jumped from the back seat of the car and dove into the front. Feeling that this was suspicious, the police took a closer look. When they checked the back seat, they found Fulau pretending to be asleep. Both provided false names, and Fulau claimed to be 18, which was 6 years older than his true age. Fulau said that no touching had taken place. Letourneau said that she and her husband had gotten into an argument and that Fulau, who she said was a family friend who had been staying with him that night, witnessed the argument and ran away upset. She said she left to find him. The police were skeptical and took them to the station. Once they were able to get Fulau's real name, they called his mother and asked what they wanted to be done with her son. Not aware that Letourneau had lied about his age, as well as not being told what took place in the car, the mother allowed him to go with Letourneau. Sometime later that year, Letourneau became pregnant with Fulau's child, but it wasn't until sometime early in 1997 that a relative of Steve Letourneau turned her in to the police. On March 7th, Letourneau was arrested. Letourneau pleaded guilty to 2 counts of second-degree child rape. While awaiting her sentencing, she gave birth to a daughter on May 29, 1997. On November 14, 1997, she was sentenced to 7.5 years behind bars. Through a plea agreement, Letourneau managed to get her sentence reduced to just 6 months. She was not required to register as a sex offender, but was ordered to to attend 3 years of sex offender treatment. As a part of her plea agreement, Letourneau could not contact Folau or her 5 children or have any contact with any other minors. As her case became a national scandal, friends say that her mental health suffered during this time. Clearly, the counseling she was ordered to take did no good, because just 2 weeks after her release, on February 3, 1998, Letourneau was once again found in a vehicle with Folau. She and Folau provided false names when asked for identification. Although it was reported that sexual intercourse had occurred in the car, Folau told the detective that he and Letourneau had kissed frequently and that he had touched Letourneau on the thigh, but that no sexual intercourse had occurred. There was evidence to support the theory that the two had met several times before they were caught. After Letourneau's arrest, police found $6,200 in cash, baby clothes, and her passport inside the car, 124 to 125 receipts for $850 in purchases made since January 20th for men's, young men's, and infant clothing were also found. When asked to explain these items, Letourneau claimed that the money was for dermatology treatments and for her divorce lawyer, and that some of the men's clothing were gifts for relatives and for herself, since she enjoyed wearing oversized men's clothing. Because she had violated her parole, which included a stipulation that she stays away from her victim, her sentence was reinstated, and she was sent back to prison. Letourneau and Folau co-authored a book, which was published in France, called Only One Crime, Love. In this book, as well as in several interviews, Letourneau said she had sex with Folau in January. On October 16, 1998, Letourneau gave birth to the second daughter she shared with Folau. While in prison, Letourneau tutored fellow inmates, created audiobooks for blind readers, participated in the prison choir, and rarely missed Mass. Because of the nature of her crime as well as her reluctance to work, Letourneau was highly unpopular with her fellow inmates. 18 out of her first 24 months were spent in solitary confinement, and another 6 months in solitary when letters she tried to send Folau were intercepted. Folau dropped out of high school, and his mother was granted custody of his 2 children. He struggled with suicidal depression and alcoholism, attempting suicide in March 1999. While he insisted that Letourneau was the love of his life, his behavior is consistent with that of a person who has experienced a traumatic event. Following Letourneau's release, Folau persuaded the court to reverse the non-contact order against her. Letourneau and Folau married on May 20, 2005. In a 2006 interview with NBC News, Letourneau said that she had no idea that what she had done would be considered wrong, a truly troubling statement. On May 9, 2017, after almost 12 years of marriage, Folau filed for separation from Letourneau, but he later withdrew the filing. Both later said it had only been done in a bid for publicity. Still, something must have been going wrong beneath the surface, because the couple finalized a legal separation in August 2019. Months after their split, Letourneau was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer and only had 6 months to live. Before her death, she wrote a series of letters to friends and family, at least 30 in total, wanting everyone to know that she was sorry for the mistakes she made. On July 6, 2020, Letourneau passed away. An unnamed source close to Folau said that he sees things clearly now and realizes that this wasn't a healthy relationship from the start. Shortly after his divorce, Folau moved in with an unknown partner, and in November 2022, became a father to another daughter. While Letourneau has passed and Folau has moved on, the case still stirs strong emotions in the public. Many see them as tragic victims of a forbidden romance, struggling against a society that didn't understand their love. It is an attitude that falls apart when the teacher is male and the student is female, a bizarre and somewhat dangerous double standard. Would things have been different if the situation had been taken seriously in the beginning? One would hope so, but it can't be certain. A lesson that should be taken from this is that teachers, while instrumental to society, cannot be trusted implicitly, nor anyone else in authority over a child. Letourneau should never have seen Folau alone outside of a classroom, and those that knew about these events should have reported them sooner. While all teachers should not be vilified or condemned for the actions of a few, there do need to be improvements made for accountability in these situations. Mary Kay Letourneau served a very light sentence, but Vili Fualaau will carry the emotional scars for the rest of his life.
1997 killing Timothy Donald George. He is free when you still his